What's going on, everybody? My name is Tomas. This is the 55-inch Sony X850D 4K LED television. Now, I've been shooting and editing 4K content for quite some time, so I thought it would be a good opportunity for me to jump into consuming 4K in my living space, as well as sharing it with my family. Now, I went with the X850D because, one, price, and another one being it fit into my living space really well. The X850D comes in a 55-inch, 65-inch, 75-inch, and an 85-inch variant. Those were just too large for my living space, in addition to exceeding my budgetary limitations. The 55-inch is just a great TV, and my first impressions of it are very positive. So I want to talk a little bit about this TV and share with you my first impressions. When I was making my decision for a television, the X850D was in close competition with Samsung's KS8000 series of television. The primary reason that I chose the X850D was because of its stand. It is one piece and it's not separate across the bottom of the television. Although it's plastic, it is really sturdy and feels like the TV is not going to go anywhere. And I also really like the design of it. I'm really fond of this sloping type of angled design, and in addition to it, adding some really nice cable management on the back of the television with its attachable panel. Another thing with this television, it is VESA compatible. The back of it is really blocky, and that's probably something that I don't like about it because it's difficult to clean. Now I have to reach behind and make sure that I get those shelves of dust when it accumulates over time. Another thing with the design, I really am not fond of the first HDMI port because it is facing outward, and that's just not intuitive as far as putting it against the wall or something like that. So you're going to have an angled HDMI cable if you're going to utilize the first HDMI port. And that's just something that I think Sony could have just jammed into the side like the other three HDMI ports, but they didn't, and I'm kind of just going to have to live with it. Along the lines of design, the borders on this television are really minimal and they're not noticeable, and that's probably another thing that I really like about this television. It does a really good job at just melting into the content, and you really just don't even notice it. I'm really happy with it. Back to its thickness, it's about 1¼ inch thick at its thinnest, or roughly 4 centimeters, which is really nice at the top of the TV, but as you go down, all of the components are stored away. So picture quality is fantastic from my first impressions of this television. It just does a really great job at bringing out all the colors. This TV will not do well in a dark environment because the blacks are not completely black. The IPS panel does a really good job at rejecting reflections and that type of stuff. But as you can see in this video, the sunlight from the window is really apparent, but it's not as bad as the video is communicating to you. You can still see what is happening on screen. And with that IPS panel, it has a really awesome viewing angle. I'm really impressed by the viewing angle of this TV, and that's probably another thing that I chose this television over the other competitors out there. One thing with the brightness, at its max, it gets around 420 nits. I'm getting a little technical here, but if you're in direct sunlight, you're going to have a difficult time seeing it at its max brightness. But again, you just kind of have to close your blinds or whatever, and it does a really good job in well-lit areas. Now, the X850D wins out against all of its competitors by providing 4 total HDMI ports, in addition to a digital audio optical out. And that cable will allow you to get some fantastic, or connect some fantastic sound with your theater setup. Now, if I wanted to turn this into a computer monitor, I could most definitely do that because at 4K, it is refreshing at 60 Hertz max, in addition to providing you the option of going down to 30 Hertz. You can also jump into 1080p and refresh at even faster rates, which are 120 Hertz and 60 Hertz, making gameplay a fantastic experience, especially when you pair this thing with the PlayStation 4. It really just pulls you into the content. Now, back to my point of making this TV a computer monitor in the future if I ever wanted to. Now, it has a low enough input lag for the types of things that I do on my computer that it would work really well, in addition to the refresh rates that it provides. The input lag is around 34 milliseconds, and it really just does a nice job of capturing refresh rates at the rate that I would use them at for my editing suites and stuff like that. Now, before I move on, I want to highlight that this TV has horrendous sound quality, so you are most likely going to need to pair this with some sort of soundbar or theater system. The frequency response spectrum on this TV is just really not set for any kind of clear, crisp highs, nor is it out there to capture any of the low basses. It's really just driven to the mids, and it maxing out at around 89 decibels of complete loudness. It does well with like dialogue type of stuff, so if you're watching a soap opera or something like that, it'll do really well in those types of environments. But when you throw in a movie with Dolby Digital surround sound, it's just really gonna suck. The sound quality on this TV is one of the worst that I've ever experienced, and it's something that I'm okay with because I don't buy TVs for sound quality because I have a theater setup. But you should be very aware that the X850D sound quality is terrible. And before I get out of here, who would want to invest their hard-earned money into the X850D by Sony? Well, it provides good picture quality as long as you're watching it in a room that has some ambient light. It won't do well in dark rooms. If you want a TV that does well in dark rooms, look at OLED, but those come at a price premium. Now, if you watch a lot of sports and play video games, this TV is the TV for you, and you should stop this video right now and order this thing. It has a wide viewing angle that just supplements the fact that it does well for sports and video games, so everybody in the room can see the content that actually is going on. Ultimately, the X850D was a great choice for me. I'm really happy with my decision to purchase this, and I would recommend it to those of you out there that are playing a lot of video games and watching a lot of sports. One stipulation with that: I would wait until this thing goes on sale because I think $11.99 is a little steep, especially for the 55-inch. So if you could get it at a lower rate, which I recommend that you check pricing and availability, they will be linked in the description below. Well, that about does it for me in this one. If you like this video, please feel free to give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the other one. Thanks for taking the time to watch. I'm Tomas, and I'll catch you in the next one.